at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome everybody. We are at the end of this week. That's right, evening tea time, and I have the amazing Kalee Boisvert in the background, and she's going to come and talk to us about Moneywise. That's right, we're going to talk some money. This morning we talked about money too, and then this afternoon we talked about money. So today and this whole day of Thursday has been about money, but in different ways, through grief, through the conscious wellness, and now through savings and investments and all of that good stuff. And a children's book. That's right. Kalee has a children's book. So we'll be talking about all of that good stuff. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your glass of wine. You do not have to drink tea to listen to Tea Time with Miss Liz. So let's get the disclaimer out there. Let's get some bio out there, and let's get Kalee in here so we can spill a good strong cup of TEA with you tonight on Tea Time with Miss Liz. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include, for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in tonight's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all shows in 2023 are done on Thursday at 10, 3, and 7 p.m. on Thursdays. And if it's on a Monday or Tuesday, it's a rescheduled tea time, because that's just how we roll. Sometimes life happens and we have to reschedule. So now I have Kalee in the background, and she is excited to be up front here and sharing all of the good things with you and her book. So we're going to be talking about the two books like you've seen in the intro. So Kalee Boisvert has been in the financial industry for over 15 years, but her love of money started very young. Growing up in a single parent household, she watched her mom struggle with finances and wished there was something she could do to help. Around this time, she realized she needed to find her own way to save and earn if she wasn't going to allow her circumstances to define her. And so her own journey to financial literacy began. Today, as a single mom and a financial independent woman, Kalee is called to support women in their financial lives. She felt the pull towards a career that would allow her to pursue this deeply personal goal to advocate for women and their money, which led her on the path to becoming a financial advisor. Being an advisor allows her to work directly with women to empower and support them and help them put an end to any money related stress and doubts. To further her efforts supporting financial literacy, Kalee has two books being released this year, which we'll be talking about. A children's picture book called Moneywise, Mabel Bursting Banks, and a nonfiction book called Make Money Your Thing, which aims to build confidence and empower people in their financial lives. So let me get Kalee in here and let's spill some good tea with all of you guys. Welcome, Kalee.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I am super excited about tonight because money is just one thing that has been on the discussion table all day in this house.
Yes, I love hearing that.
And it came through grief, and it came through the consciousness and wellness. And, we look at currency and money in different ways, right? So I want to start off, Kalee, with your life as a little girl. You grew up in a single home. So how were you as a little girl, and who are you now as a grown woman?
Oh, that's a good question. So yes, I grew up and money was really showing up as a source of like stress and struggle is what I saw it as. I had a single mom and she worked very hard, but obviously finances, can be really challenging, especially when you're on your own independently and have two kids. So she did an amazing job, and I saw how hard she worked, which was great for me to see. Like, I probably learned my work ethic from her. But it was interesting because, again, we didn't have a lot of money, but I'm also, this quiet introvert who's always very keen on being observant. And what I noticed is that same money lack and scarcity didn't seem to be the case for everyone. So that intrigued me. And from that point on, I think it's just like I developed this desire to want to learn more and understand it, because I felt like if I could do that, then I could change things. I could make a difference and make an impact. And so that was kind of the beginnings of it all. And then fast forward to, now in my career and whatnot, I did continue on that path, and I went into finance and absolutely loved it. And what I kept seeing though when I first entered the finance industry is that it seemed like women didn't seem to be like getting involved, getting engaged. They didn't seem to be as interested. And that was kind of the messaging I was receiving, that women just weren't interested, which made me really sad because, I had done all this like money learning and I was all excited to like help women, teach women. And then to know that or hear that, okay, women aren't really interested. I was devastated. But then I went on mat leave, and coming back from mat leave after having my daughter, I knew that I needed to test that theory, because I always, again, wanted to go into this industry to support women, to get women feeling confident, empowered with money. So women didn't have to go through what I saw my mom go through. So coming back, I really leaned into that, and I started doing events for just women on different money topics. So I would do like lunch and learns on investing 101 and saving and all sorts of like money and investing topics. And women came, and lots of came, and then I would do them on a monthly basis, and more women came. So that, then reignited that flame of like, yay, women are interested. But I think what was missing was that there just wasn't this comfortable, safe space for women, and we need to create more of those comfortable, welcoming, safe spaces for women when it comes to money, is what I saw in my experience. And so that is what I created. And then, of course, COVID hit, and these live events could no longer happen at the time. But that gave me the idea to write my books, because I still knew that I wanted to do this. I wanted to share this wisdom with women. And it was just a matter of like, well, how can I reach a larger audience then, especially at the time, from your home? And so that's why I wrote these books. So Make Money Your Thing. It's a nonfiction book that I wrote for women, all about empowering women with their money, giving them a little bit of a confidence boost so they feel ready to take action with their money. And then my other book, book for kids because financial literacy is so important. And I believe that it starts very early. And so I wanted to kind of test the theory. Well, how early can we start it? So I wrote a kid's picture book, which is for ages like 4 to 7, and it's called Moneywise Mabel's Bursting Bank. So I'm so happy because I'm finally, in this living my passion of supporting women, all to do with money and finances, because women really do, belong here, and we need to have these conversations. And so it's fun. Like the feedback I'm getting, it's amazing. It makes me like, wow, it makes me giddy knowing that women are getting into this and they're making money their thing.
Okay. Kalee, I just want to ask you, do you hear buzzing when you're talking?
No.
Okay, I do. I hear a lot of buzzing. I just don't want to have a bad sound. We are live, so
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is it coming through like my microphone?
I hear like a lot of bzzz. I just don't want you to have a bad tea time.
No.
Yeah, it's as soon as you talk, it's like a static, like on your microphone.
Oh, interesting. I think like my connection. I just used it today and I didn't have that.
Yeah, because it's as soon as you start talking, it's like a buzzing, like somebody's rubbing on your microphone.
Oh, that's weird. Should I put it further? Does that help?
It's like very distant, and then it gets really loud. It depends on what you're saying, like your certain letters and words.
Okay. I wonder if if I sit further away, does that sound better?
Oh God, no.
No.
Yeah, because I just want to make sure that you're getting everything out good and it's not sounding rustic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart.
Okay.
And maybe if we sign out and sign back in, maybe we'll see if that does something.
Okay.
And for all of you viewers out there, we'll be right back.
Right back. Okay. I'll sign it back in.
Sometimes we have technical difficulties with different microphones and that, depending on what we're broadcasting with. We are back. Can you hear me?
Yes. Is it still there?
No, it's gone.
Oh, well, that's
Isn't that
good.
weird?
Good news.
Everything was good even before we were in the background. So we are back, guys. So I'm just going to get Kalee to share a little bit more. Kalee, I'm going to just go back and edit all of that stuff. See if I can take some of that scratchiness out, because I don't. It was really good information, so I don't want to, lose it.
Okay.
Okay. So Kalee, let's start a little bit more about your books and how you were as a little girl and who you are now. And we'll start right from the get-go, and we'll continue on because it sounds
Awesome.
perfect now.
Oh, good. Okay. I'll try to be condensed this time, maybe. Okay. So growing up, I grew up in a single parent family. My mom did an amazing job raising my sister and I, but money still showed up as a source of like very much stress, struggle. Kind of the messaging I kept hearing in my childhood is like, we don't have enough, it's always that money was this scarcity. But what was interesting to me was that I noticed others around me, like my friends, that didn't seem to be plagued by like that same lack and scarcity with money. So that intrigued me because I realized, well, it's not, this isn't the same for everyone. So I wanted to learn more and figure out money essentially, because I felt like if I could understand it, maybe there's something I could do about it. I could take action. So that was my beginning and journey. So I always had this fascination for money. I kept going that way through my university education. I landed my career in the finance industry. And so I was, where I wanted to be. And I was really excited to start working with women, supporting women on their financial goals. But at the beginning, what I was seeing, it seemed like, there weren't these women as eager and excited to learn. And so the messaging I was getting was, women aren't interested. But then I went on mat leave with my daughter, and coming back, I knew I really wanted to like lean into that why. That really is the reason why I was here in this industry, from my childhood beginnings, about seeing my mom go through that struggle and wanting to support other women. So I started doing in-person events for just women, on different money topics. So like investing 101 and, things about saving and planning, like goal planning for your future and your financial future and whatnot. And women showed up, and I kept doing them on a monthly basis, and more women came, which was amazing to see. And then COVID hit. And so obviously I had to stop doing these in-person events. But that's where I got the idea to write these books, knowing that I wanted to reach a larger audience, and that, this would be my way to kind of share this messaging with even more women. And so I wrote Make Money Your Thing, which is a nonfiction book for women about building confidence and feeling more empowered in your financial lives. Because I believe kind of the missing piece between like taking action and taking the steps is that women just don't feel ready. Maybe they don't feel confident. And so this book, I hope to kind of take the reader on a journey to build that confidence so they do feel inspired to take action. And then I also wrote my kids' book, Moneywise, Mabel's Bursting Bank. Again, I have my daughter, and my daughter was 5 at the time. And I just was thinking, what is something I can do for her as well? And the idea of financial literacy and starting really early. So being a money person and having my daughter, and she was showing signs of not being very good with money. So I really wanted to write this book as a tool that parents can use with their kids. Because again, when we as parents don't feel confident and don't feel like we have enough, we didn't get enough financial literacy along the way, maybe, then we might not feel equipped to have the conversations and share this information with our children. So that's what the book is for. It's for kids ages 4 to 7, and it's to help like open the communication and conversations about money with kids.
I really like it because I have a granddaughter, and I was thinking of getting a piggy bank for her for Christmas, and she's going to be 3 in March. And I believe that if we teach them at a young age, it helps them when they get older, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, like if we're not taught it, how do we learn it? Because it's not taught in the schools on how to budget or how to invest or how, like we do have our accounting classes and stuff like that to balance the books and that, but you have to learn how to budget before you can balance the book.
Yeah, you're right. Like there are these like like concepts that like build on each other. And so if we're learning it really young, we can learn the basics, right? Just like idea of money and counting and adding up, you know, dollars and change and things like that. And then that leads to the bigger concepts, like you're saying, actually budgeting and understanding cash flow and income expenses. So, you know, we have to start somewhere. And it's really great if we can start those like basic topics young, because it's just going to build on it and it's going to be amazing. Like we can teach them, you know, instead of thinking as parents, I think there's a big financial stressor thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be supporting my child forever. I'm going to have to pay for their university or help them with a house down payment. Like we take on a lot of pressure as parents, but if we can equip them with this knowledge, we can, you know, set them up for success to be able to do these things on their own, to feel like ready and confident in themselves to take these steps.
Well, and being raised by a single parent, and you're a single mom now, you know. So, what did you learn about finances?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, again, like I said, it was when it was like we didn't have a lot, we didn't have enough. That was hard because, you know, those early learnings for me, when you're a child and you can't really like make sense of it or why, right? Like, why do some people have the things and we don't? So that was hard. Like for me, that was like probably a good experience because it set me on my journey to what I do today. But it's sometimes like from those really hard experiences that we kind of learn like our biggest lessons. It's interesting how that happens. So for me, it was that idea of how I wanted to make sure that I could take the steps when I was able to ensure that like I was financially independent, that I could do it. And my mom was, and she, you know, she did it all on her own and she worked multiple jobs. So I think for me, that instilled a sense of like, I can do this. I don't need to rely on someone else necessarily, because I see that like a lot of times when it comes to like couples and money is that one maybe takes the lead with the finances, which oftentimes is the husband or the male of the partnership. And women sort of, you know, take the back seat and don't stay involved and engaged, and they kind of let them take the lead. And there, unfortunately, I've seen some really bad scenarios of what plays out in cases of like divorce, or if you lose your spouse and now you're all of a sudden thrown into the driver's seat and have to figure it out. So I think from an early age, it was that like learning independence and learning that I always need to know this myself still, no matter what, because they're so empowering. Like if we can know it ourselves, then in a partnership and whatnot, you're just going to have a much better cohesive unit and like much better sort of success in case, again, we don't want to plan for the worst, but in case something happens, you want to be equipped to be able to handle that. And so I think, you know, it's this, like, I guess goal I have for women is that women feeling financially empowered, women feeling financially independent, like they can do these things as well on their own, is so important because that. So that was a big one of what I learned. Like I never thought, you know, that if I wanted to have the things I wanted, I never thought that it would be reliant on having a husband to buy it for me or something like that. So I think that was an important lesson for me because it put me on this journey to like, I can do this and I can get the things and that I want in life. And it's like, that to me is, it brings so much confidence. Like when you hit goals that you set for yourself or do things independently, it shows you like what you're made of and what you can do. And then it's like on to the next thing and the next thing. And so it's such like again, it's empowering, right? It's this idea of like, I can do anything. And I think that's so powerful and important when it comes to money, because oftentimes we grow up and it's almost like we're in this position of like money is happening to us and we feel almost like a victim, or, you know, oh no, like I never have enough. I'm never going to be able to retire. It's like money is coming at us and we're just being reactive, versus we can change that. And we can say, I get to choose what I want to do. I get to choose the goals I have, the retirement goal or the vacation goal, whatever it looks like. So that I think was probably the biggest lesson for me as a growing up in a single parent family, and like what it has, I guess, now created in my life right now.
Well, I think it's really important too, like anybody that's in a relationship, to have your independence, Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that you can't be independent. You
Yeah.
know, we should be encouraging our spouses to, figure it out and say, you know what? Hey, you have a job, you figure it out. Like, where would you like to go? How would you like to do this? How would
Yeah.
you like to save? And it's okay if you have two savings. The husband has a saving and the wife has a saving, or, you know, uh, why do we always have to just give the okay to the spouse and say, you know what? I'll take care of it when it's time to take care of it. And then something happens, like you mentioned, and then they're all confused because they don't know how to do the balancing of the books or writing that check or paying the bill, or because everything was done by the male, right? Or female, whatever,
Yeah.
in
Yeah, either
couples.
way. Exactly. Like it has to be, both need to be engaged and in the know. And that's what's important, right? That there is communication, that there is some level of independence. You're right. And just understanding. And it's good for everyone. Everyone benefits from that.
Well, and you're empowering the woman as well, right? Like when you get into a relationship, it's not about who's like the male role is higher than the female. We have to really start empowering women and saying, I can do this too. You know,
Yeah.
we're just going to be a stronger couple if we actually do it this way.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
we
Exactly. That's like power couple central, right? If you're on the same team with like, yeah, on the same page going after what you're going for, like that's like double the energy towards it. And that's fabulous.
I'm not sure what that comment is. I can't say that. I'm sorry. We have a comment that came in and they want me to say something, so I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not even sure what that means, so I'm not
Oh,
gonna.
okay.
But I want to get into the titles of your books,
Yeah.
Kalee. What? How did you get the titles?
Yeah. So make money your thing came from, I guess, the frustration of essentially hearing women kind of write themselves off when it comes to their financial knowledge. So women saying things like, I'm not good at math, I'm not good with numbers, money isn't my thing. Well, money is your thing. Like there's one step is that we need to stop just essentially giving up and saying, I don't know how to do this, and having that mindset, because you're not going to get anywhere with that. So I think that just in itself is so key, is that we can't write ourselves off with these statements. So instead of saying money isn't my thing, money is your thing, and it can be anyone's thing. It doesn't have to be like you have some sort of degree in finance and you know everything there is to know about the stock markets. You don't need to get to that level to make money your thing. And I bring the reader on that journey to a point where after they've read it, I hope they are saying money is my thing.
Right? And why can't we say positive things, right? Like, why do we always
Absolutely.
put that word "I can't"? Yes, you
Yeah,
can. Take that "can't" out of there. You can, not cannot.
exactly.
Let's change our phrases and the way that we look at stuff. Now, the children's book, how did you come about that name, that title?
I think it was just trying to make something fun. So Moneywise, Mabel's Bursting Bank. Well, Mabel happened to be one of the like names on the list when I knew I was having a girl. So it was like one of my shortlisted names. I liked that name, so it was always kind of like in my mind for that reason. And it sounded so good, like Moneywise Mabel. The M's go together. So for kids' books, you kind of have to make it catchy and fun. So that was where that title came from. So a name I liked and was considering naming my daughter, but didn't. And then it goes very well with Moneywise.
I like that because, if you only have one child and you want to have other children and it just doesn't happen, you can always write a book
Yeah, it's
and
your
still
book,
have the
babies.
name.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that idea. I can give that to my daughter because my daughter has a bunch of names that she likes. And I'm just like, you can write a book.
Yeah, and have it be your characters. You don't have to let go of those names.
Right. So I want to get into what age do you think is a good age to start teaching children about money?
I think really early. So people might think I'm crazy, but I think those ages like 4, 5, when they're starting to just be more open and inquisitive, I think that's a perfect age to start. Kids have like their minds are so neat, right? They have the imaginations and they ask the greatest questions. So have that be the opportunities and ask questions back or introduce questions like I remember, I was doing like vision boards with my daughter at that age. Like I would be doing them because it was kind of like I wanted to, have my goals and things like that. And so I was like, well, you can do one too. And she had like a picture of a mansion and a giraffe. And so it's fun because it opens a conversation. I was like, oh, okay. Like it's probably going to be pretty expensive to house that giraffe somewhere. I don't even think you're going to have a pet giraffe, but I mean, if you were to. And then I'm like, what kind of job are you going to have? And she's like, I think she said like, I'm going to work at McDonald's. And I was like, well, you might need to get a job where you're making a higher income if that's the kind of goals you have and what you want to buy with it. So it's just fun because they have so much like interesting insights, but then again, you can open the conversation. You ask them questions. Like I'd ask her, how much money do you think it costs to rent a house, or how much money do you, and then you can start comparing items with them, like, oh, this costs this much and this costs that much. Maybe you introduce an allowance where they're getting an allowance for, I don't know if it's like household chores or things like that, or little things they're able to do for you. Like Ivy cleans up the main floor all the time for me every night, and she gets her, little allowance at the end of the week for those things. And then it's, once they start understanding, it's so interesting because then sometimes now that she has her own money and she's earning it, she now knows, how hard she worked for that money. And so when she sees how much something costs, it's funny. She'll be like, oh, it's this much money. No, I don't even, that's too much, and puts it back. And I'm just like, it's funny because she's already like equated, her effort and what she's put into and how long it takes to make money into how much something costs. I'm like, that's amazing. Because that's, sometimes some people don't learn that even until they're, 20s or beyond. So it's, I think it can start really early to answer that question, like 4 years old, 5 years old. And how does it start? Just with like having conversations and communication about it. I don't think we talk about money enough in general. It's almost like a taboo subject for some reason. And it doesn't have to be. And if we're talking about it openly, like keep it light, keep it fun, but it's funny. Like sometimes Ivy one time woke up and asked, hey mom, do you have to pay bills every month or just one time? And I'm like, that's a weird thing to, thought to wake up with. Are you having like money nightmares? But I was just like, no, you have to pay them every month. So it's just like giving them an idea and understanding of that, like financial responsibilities, because they're going to have it right there. It's like inevitable. That's the way they're headed. So even if you don't feel like you know enough to be teaching them, again, you don't have to have some sort of teaching degree or know everything about finances. Just have conversations, answer questions, because you know all this stuff. You've been doing all this stuff, right? And they don't, because they don't do that stuff like pay bills and whatnot. So give them information and ask questions and see what kind of fun conversations come out of it.
I love that you say conversations, because we need more conversations, not on a phone to a phone, face-to-face conversations. And it is true. Money is a taboo. So when we get to become an adult, we're scared of it because we don't have good conversation about money.
No, it's like this
we
awkward,
get told
we'll
this
talk
is how
about
much you pay,
anything else.
right?
Yeah.
So the taboo actually scares us when we get to become adults, because then we got to pay the rent, we got to pay the insurance, we got to pay this, we got to pay, and we're just becoming an adult, and we're like, whoa, what is all of this? Like, I don't want to be an adult anymore.
No, yeah, then you'll appreciate your childhood more too.
Right. I think it's really important that we have more open conversations with our children, and you just never know, they might come up with something and be like, that's interesting. How do you look at that? Like, and see that, right?
You're right. I know it's fun. It's fun if they can stump us. That's the best part, right?
Exactly. So I want to get into your T, Kalee. So if I give you the letter TEA, what 3 words would you give me?
T. Oh, so it has to match the letters?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Okay. I like the idea of teaching, because I feel like I'm always teaching these concepts and breaking it down to simplicity. So teaching, empowerment, and action. Is those yours too, or?
No, but
Okay.
you can use my words because you use them differently than I do. We all use our different words in different ways. So we could have exactly the same words, but serve a different type of tea. Your tea might be a little sweeter. My tea might be a little stronger. You know what I mean? It depends on how we serve them. And I like that you use those words, because that's exactly what you do. with
Yes,
your daily work is you are a
it is.
teacher, you empower women, and you are an action taker because you were like, oh my goodness, this is how life was when I was a little girl. I'm not doing this, I'm taking action. So it is your
Exactly.
tea. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a good tea. Don't ever question your tea. Your tea is good.
Okay. It's a good tea. I agree. I love my tea. Yes.
I want everyone to go out and just love their teas, serve their teas, because we all serve different flavors and blends in life. We all have different stories. We all have gone through something. And tea is what our stories are. It's like putting it into a cup and putting everything that has happened to us, everything we have gone through. Some of us put cream in, some of us put sugar in, some of us put butter in our teas. Some of us just like plain black tea or green tea or berry tea. There's so many different blends and flavors. So it's just like money. Money is different. There's different currencies. There's different colors. Play with the colors as well. Because that's what I was thinking of when I read your children's book, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I could add colors. So my little granddaughter, because her favorite color right now is yellow and blue. Yellow and blue. So those are her two favorite colors. And we have colored money. So why not say, do you want to save the purple bill? Do you want to save the red bill? You know, and show us, get to know the numbers and that play with the numbers as well. So I want to talk to you now, Kalee, about investments because a lot of people don't understand investing. There's a lot of fear around investing. So
Hmm.
I want to get that on the table. What did you learn about investing and how does it help uh, women out there?
Yeah. So in my book, Make Money Your Thing, I have a whole chapter about investing. Investing is so important. Like if you are asking, what are wealthy people doing with their money? Like oftentimes we kind of like use that as our guidepost of like, what are the people that are, successful or these people that seem brilliant, what do they do? Well, they invest their money. They get their money working for them, right? So we have to do that. And for women, it just so happens that there is so much fear, like you said, with investing that they're often just sitting on the sidelines, that they're not getting involved, not investing. And that's one of the biggest mistakes you can be doing with your money. Because again, your money, you work so hard for it. And then, don't you deserve that to be giving back to you? So having your money invested is your money actively working and growing for you. You're putting it to work. You're getting it you to be productive. So yes, unfortunately, what I see is women sitting on the sidelines, sitting on like piles of cash, which, is great. It means they have the savings part down, right? Like they're actively saving, which is an amazing, diligent habit to get into. But the next step is you have to invest it. And in the world of investing, there's like thousands upon thousands of products and things out there, which yes makes it extremely confusing, unfortunately, but it also means that there's something for everyone and there's something that's going to be a good fit. Like you said, all different kinds of teas, there's all different kinds of investments, and it's like finding the right fit for your goal. And if you're coming at investing that way, it shouldn't be scary. It shouldn't be like a traumatizing, volatile event because you're finding the right product, the right fit for, your time horizon, for your comfort level. And if you do that properly, it will be okay. It will feel okay. So, for instance, if you think I need this money within 5 years for a down payment on a house, well, then maybe you're going to be more conservatively invested in something that just generates some interest, a high yield savings account, high interest savings account, something like that, where you have this guaranteed return on your money. So your money's still working for you, getting some interest on it. So it's not just sitting there, like it's tucked under your mattress or something. It's getting you a return, but there's not a risk element to that. And then maybe you also have working with that like a financial independence or retirement goal. And let's say you're in your 30s and you want to retire in your late 50s or 60s, then maybe you have like 25, 30 plus years for that goal. And if that's the case, then your investing could be more so invested in like things like the stock market. And you can get access to that type of investing too, and make sure you're well diversified with something like an ETF, which is an exchange traded fund. So it's a basket of different stocks, or a mutual fund basket of different holdings. It could be specifically stocks. It could be specifically bonds. So think of it as there's so many products out there, and it's more about finding the right fit for you. Because if you're saying, I need this money next year for a down payment, and then you throw it all into the stock markets and it just takes a nosedive right when you happen to need the money, and you pull it out and now it's down 20% from when you started, like, that's scary. And investing then becomes something that is really frightening. But again, when you're investing appropriately for your goals, that won't happen. So it's getting clear on, you're going to have the different buckets of money, and then you're going to have a different fit for each of those buckets depending on your time horizon, is a big one, and your risk comfort level. So that's what I would really kind of emphasize for people when they're feeling scared about investing. Because a lot of times this fear, it's coming from something you heard from a friend of whatever. Like all the times I've heard someone say, well, my second uncle's cousin or whoever said, he lost.
Your great uncle told me 20 years ago, don't do it.
Yeah, you're going to lose lots of money. And, I lost this much $20,000 investing. And so you're like, well, that sounds terrible. It sounds like gambling. I don't want to do that. I worked really hard for this money. I'm not going to throw it away. But again, it's like, what do wealthy, successful business, the people that are doing the right things with their money, the Warren Buffetts of the world, they know that there's still this element of getting your money working for you, invested, that does make sense. That doesn't have to be like a wild roller coaster ride. So we can make it less scary in that sense when we get really clear on our goals, our time horizons, things like that. And, education is going to be a big piece, because you probably are feeling scared because you don't know a lot. And that's, again, that's okay. We didn't learn a lot of this stuff along the way. Like you said, financial literacy, it's not a big part of our upbringing. And so if this feels overwhelming, if it feels like a lot, that's okay. And you don't have to know it all. But you can be open to learning. And, for that, you can kind of take it in bite-sized chunks instead of like overwhelmed, taking all in at once, because that's not a good approach. And that's not realistic, I don't think, for anyone. So, just like saying, oh, I'm going to commit to reading a book about money. I'm going to commit to reading an article each week about investing or finances or number, like little things. I'm going to listen to a podcast about money and investing. Those are going to go a long way and help build that wealth. So there's another way to help you when it comes to investing. And then there's also a little element where you kind of have to dive in. You kind of have to do something that's maybe scary and doesn't feel comfortable. But again, you have that inkling of like, I know I should be doing this. I know, it's beneficial for me to have my money earning a return. So you might have to dive in there a little bit. And maybe that requires help from a financial professional, or a financial coach or something like that for those initial steps. Or ongoing support with this for you as well. So that's some of, I would say, like my tips about investing. And the impact of it is huge. Like when we talk about compounding growth, and in my book, I have like different charts of like, if you save $200 a month and invest it for, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, this is what it looks like. It's crazy. Like it's the magic of compounding, they call it, because it's almost like your brain doesn't comprehend how it can kind of grow upon growth upon growth. And it's like it's like rolling a snowball. And then all of a sudden it's like this little bitty thing, and then it gets just huge. And that's, I think, the magic of compounding. So you will have to invest to build wealth. It is an element of building wealth. Think of it as like a shortcut. And we all like and need shortcuts, right? It benefits us all. If you have a goal to have $1 million and think, oh my gosh, I have to literally put away $1 million to get to that goal. If you don't invest, that's a lot. And that may not be feasible with what you have left at the end of every month and whatnot, or it might take you till you're almost 100 to do that. Versus if you're investing and having it grow, the investing piece is doing a lot of the work for you and the growth and the compounding. And so what you're actually putting in, it does not have to be $1 million if that's your goal, the $1 million goal. So it's an important part of wealth building, and it is scary. I completely acknowledge that, but know you can start where you are. You don't have to have a certain level of wealth to start investing. You can get started very early on and with just a small amount of money. And again, what's another tip to make it less scary? If you are just getting started and adding money, how about try adding money to an investment every month? And then you're kind of taking out to some of the guesswork of the markets moving up and down. So you don't have to time the markets. You don't have to say, well, I better figure out when the next recession is. So then I'll invest at the very bottom and make sure I get out before it goes through another one. That's impossible. So don't have those expectations on yourself. Simplify it, automate it, have it just going in on an ongoing basis. And that is just beneficial and one of the best things you can do for your money.
So we have a question here for you, Kalee. What age should children be taught how to invest?
That's a good one. Well, Warren Buffett bought his first stock when he was like 13 years old.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So if you want the next Warren Buffett financial guru, then that early. But I think a fun activity with someone young is having them create like a fake portfolio. So I would say like at the age of 16 or so, they might be comfortable with a task like this. And again, let's just pretend it's fake money, fun money, not investing with real money. I did an activity like this in like grade 7 or 8 when we were learning, like way back in my day, we were learning Microsoft Excel with like the spreadsheets and things like that. So we were tasked with picking a bunch of stocks and then tracking how they did over the term. So you can do that with your teenager. Maybe it's a competition that you pick a certain amount of stocks, they pick certain stocks, and have like a fake $10,000 you're investing. And, you chart out how many shares of whatever company you're like, okay, I bought, 5 shares of Amazon and 2 shares of Apple and, whatever it is. And, you versus them or whatever. You don't have to make it a competition. And then
It's
have
always
them
more fun.
I know it puts more on the table. Yeah. But then have them just track it. So write down your picks and how many of each and what you bought it at. And then you can check in every so often. And there's little apps to do this. Like it's called like a mock portfolio. And a lot of the, programs online, it can automate it for you. But if not, you can have a piece of paper and pen, you can have an Excel spreadsheet, whatever works. And yeah, just track and see how it's doing and see how you're feeling and, and things like that. And so that's a really fun way to get them started, experimenting, really seeing what it would be like to invest their money without using real money.
I think that's really cool. And I think 10 years old, you could do like a game. It's like playing Monopoly, right? If you can play Monopoly, you can make a portfolio for investments, and get a gift card or something at the end of it. Like whoever make it
does
fun.
better. I know you're right. I asked my daughter's 9, and even up to a few years ago, I'd show her like stock market charts, and I'd be like, "Is this stock going up or down?" And she would, say things, and then I said, "What stocks would you buy?" And I kind of explained what it was to her. So then she was naming like the companies she liked. She was like, McDonald's and Apple because I like my iPad, and I'm just like, "Oh, that's so cool." So you're right. It can start quite early.
Well, and they get to know a little bit about the businesses out there as well. So when they get to adulthood, they can say, "Oh, well, I'm going to buy an Apple or I'm going to buy a Samsung, an Android." You get to know the product and you get to know the businesses as well. And it makes, again, a good open discussion. And as you were sharing, Kalee, and you said like these ladies that sit on a big bank full of money, it's almost like the bursting bank of the children's book that you wrote, right?
Yeah.
This bank is going to burst. What are you going to do with it? You can't fill it anymore. So what are you going to do with it?
Yes, I love that. I love that similarity. You're right. It is very similar.
Yeah, because that's what I got as you were sharing. I was like, well, that's like the children's book. Like the bank is full. What are these kids doing with this full money? Like, well, some would go out and spend it, but I mean, that would be the time to say, do you want to invest half of this, all of it,
Yeah.
quarter of it? And it gets them talking about numbers and conversation again. Like we really need to start having more conversations and getting people to understand life skills, because we don't learn these things in school. We learn them when we become an adult or out it, and then we're stressing. We're full of fear because we don't have those things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It feels like you're playing catch up by that time and you're always feeling behind because of that.
Right. And I really like that you have those books. So I want to talk about the blog. I found a couple of them, and it says money baggage and RRSPs. I want to talk a little bit about those. So
Okay.
what is money baggage?
The money baggage is like the stuff you're carrying around with you
So
about
is
money.
that it's that full, or is it the concept of the negative thoughts about money?
Yeah, it's a lot of the negative. It could be even good thoughts or what we seemingly think are good thoughts. So a lot of like think of it as like your money beliefs that exist right now up until this point. Oftentimes these beliefs come from not even yourself, like things like parents, teachers, whatever. When you're young, you're like a sponge absorbing it all. So all of a sudden you have these money, you're an adult, and you realize you have these beliefs that are, you sometimes say the things and you're like, oh my gosh, I sound like my mother. Those are the moments where you're holding on to these beliefs that maybe aren't even yours, that were sort of put on you by someone else. So that's what the money baggage is. It's oftentimes stuff that's like you didn't even get to decide. And so I think it's so powerful to like, I give an activity where I say, write down all your beliefs about money, the good or the bad, or what seemingly seems good or positive or productive. And so just write it all. Like I've had people on podcasts say, money is the root of all evil. Like that's terrible to think. So like write it down, right? With all the other ones. Like for me, it was like there's never enough money, or we never, we're always running out. We can't have savings and things like that. And then once you write down all your beliefs, look at them and decide, are these correct? Are these accurate? Like, could you go against someone in a debate and win on these? And most of the times you realize they're not true. They're true for you, or like a construct of what you were told to believe. But like if you really think about it, you're like, money is the root of all evil. Is that true? Because like maybe there's been some, greedy, wealthy people you've come across in your life, but there's also some like very generous, wonderful people. So I wouldn't say that that's true at all. So, go through and be like, you'll realize most of them aren't true. And so that's when you get to decide, like, let's get rid of that money baggage now. Let's toss it out. And now you get to decide ones of your conscious choosing. So what do you want to believe about money? Like, do you want to believe that your life is say, my life is abundant and I'm so blessed and grateful for all the wonderful things I have. I'm working on my financial knowledge and I'm building up my financial literacy to understand finances more. Like whatever those things you want to really believe, then you get to write those down. And that's what you get to carry going forward, right? So let's ditch the old stuff after you kind of go through it and realize a lot of it is even yours. And then let's get to, take some time to consciously choose what you want to believe about money. So that's the kind of idea of money baggage. And when I say like seemingly positive too, I read a story about this in the book. There was this woman who learned all along the way that you're supposed to save money. So like save, 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 save. And she did that. And she did a great job of that. And she was let go at her employment in her mid 50s. And so she was really scared because she didn't want to have to go look for another job at that age. She had worked at this one company for like decades. And it was really scary, the thought of having to go out and look for another job. And she didn't really even want to. And which is good. I mean, I'm like, yay, no, let's retire. So we ran the numbers and it turned out she was okay to retire right then and there with all her goals and what she wanted to do and how much money she wanted to spend. She was on track and she could do it. Because again, she'd done such a diligent job saving along the way. She was fabulous at it. And so then, a little bit in, she hadn't really taken out any money from her accounts and still hadn't. So I had a talk with her, like a meeting, right? We got together and I'm like, what's going on? You're not using your money. Like that's the point. You save up for your retirement, then you start spending the money. And she said, I was taught to save, save, save. So I don't feel comfortable with spending. I feel like I'm supposed to be saving. And so I'm like, that's so interesting because that's such a, a positive message. Save all your money, save, save, save. But look what happens when we let that continue on. If that's really the only messaging, we have to tack on to that. Okay, save, save, save while I'm accumulating wealth, and then enjoy, 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 and spend while I'm in retirement or whatever that looks like for you. But it was interesting because it took a lot of work for her to get through that mindset and get comfortable with spending. We had to start out small, and it was just every month a little bit I would send to her bank. And then she started, buying things and doing things, and then it started increasing, and she felt more comfortable with it. So it's interesting how even the seemingly positive, really great messages about money can work against us too. So that's why, what it is. And we might have to change some of these beliefs a few times on our journey with our finances. So that's the money baggage talk.
I think that's really interesting because it was a positive outlook, but it was also hurting her in the long run. Yeah. And sometimes that's the thing, right? We're scared of change. We're scared of because we've been programmed, we've been told certain things for decades. So we just do this, right?
Yeah.
I know growing up, I was always told that anybody that had money, stay away from them. And I was like, why?
What's gonna happen? Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with the people that have money? Like, are they bad people? So you have this thought process that runs through your mind when you're a child. Okay, so anybody that has money, I stay away from them because they're just bad people. That's exactly where a child's mind will go to.
Yeah. You take it literal. And so you just take it on, and then you're doing it, and then all of a sudden you don't even think about it. So that's why we have to stop and really question those things.
Yeah, you have to change the thought process. And it takes time, because if it's been for so long that your mind starts to say, well, it's like you said, make a list and make sure it's your list, that these beliefs, or is it somebody that has implanted them into you, or society, or schools, or parents, or anything like that. I love all people, like all walks of life. People are good. There are bad people, good people. It doesn't matter where you are, So, just go out and save your money, invest your money. I want to really get the message out there. Stop being afraid of money, because it's not the money that we're scared of. It's the programming and society's look on money. We talked about feelings. Right. And we talked about this afternoon with Andrea. It's the currency. Money is energy.
Yes.
So we shouldn't be afraid of currency. We shouldn't be afraid of money. We should be processing it and allowing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I tell people, money's neutral. Like it's not good or bad, but it's so funny how we have such ingrained beliefs about it, where it takes on characteristics and qualities of like, it's bad,
It's a bad man.
Yeah, it's not good or bad. You get to decide that. And like, I, for one, think it sounds much better to have the positive outlook, because like that to me feels better. Of course, I'm going to get bills and things, that were unexpected, and I'm going to hit like bumps on the road, just like everyone. But if I can still kind of maintain that positive attitude, that's what's going to help. That's what's going to get me through it. And that's what's going to build wealth.
So I want to get out there, because we're going to run a little over the hour because of the scratchiness at the beginning. So we're going to go a few minutes so that we get the full hour. Okay. So Kalee, I want to talk about your one word. I asked you to give me one word to describe yourself, and you gave me the word determined. So why that word?
I think it like describes the story of my life. It's this ongoing, like, I will never give up. I will just keep on showing up. I'm probably one of like the more quiet and shy human beings out there, but because I have that, like that determination, I just do things that like surprise people who know me and to surprise myself as well. It's just this idea of like, what can we control? I see it as, and you can't control the outcome. You can't control if people respond well to what you're doing or don't like it, or if something doesn't, you go out on a limb and try something new and it doesn't work or it does work. You can't control that necessarily. But like what you can control is just showing up. And that's like the biggest step, because how many people just don't do the things because they're scared of it, right? It's something unknown. They have fear. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. It could be like that with anything in life. But if you don't like do it, you'll never know. And so it's like my determination is just like, I'll just keep showing up, because so many people just sort of like taper off, not willing to do that. And so if you can just show up and like do what you can, I think just like amazing things happen. So it's like determination. Like with finishing this book, I was writing this book and then I kind of gave up. Like I set the manuscript aside and I was like, no one's going to know, right? If I just stop writing this, like you can just stop. And then I thought about it and I was like, no, like I'll know. And, I want to finish this. And I would read over and over again the reason, because when you say you're writing a book, everyone says to you, oh, I have a book I want to write. And there's this stat that just says like, people just like the amount of people that don't finish writing a book, it's massive. Like that's the reason people don't write the book or don't finish it. Like it's just, they tap out and are like, no, I'm done. So I'm just like, I'm just going to finish it. So it was just, the determination was like, just get the book done. Because now I'm like steps ahead of anyone else, steps ahead of people who are saying they want to write the book, they never are going to, or they haven't started, or they won't finish. So I don't know, it's worked so much in my favor. It's like this, I will not back down or give up. And it's worked with building my business too. Like there's so much rejection in this industry. And when you first start a business and you have no clients, you have no one to work with, and you could easily, and the failure rate in my industry is huge when you're first starting out. And again, I'm like, okay, but if I just keep going and doing the things, I will succeed. Because the reason those people fail is they stop, they fail, they give up. Like that's the failure. So that's the determination factor. So you just got to like keep going. You just got to get up. Like I feel like I'm the type of person that gets knocked down I probably have lost count. I don't remember, with anything I do. And I just keep getting up. So I just keep doing it.
I love it. And I love it because the listeners out there that keep falling and want to give up, don't give up.
Yeah. Don't.
And writing a book is hard. I was at that point where I wrote enough. We'll get it done next year or the year after. And I actually had someone that's, get it done. Just get it out there. If it's not perfect the first time, write another one. Just try. And I like that message that you're giving to the listeners out there, Kalee, is, don't give up. Just keep going. And building a business is hard work, guys. It's determination, and you have to be determined. Like you have to have dedication and discipline. And on those harder days where you're falling, you have to just get up and rise. You just got to show up. Whether you don't want to or not, just show up. I love that message that you're giving, Kalee, because all my listeners out there, all my little young girls out there, just show up. And I earlier I noticed that my niece popped in, and that is so nice to see you pop in. I haven't seen her in a couple of years, so it's nice to see her on the screen here. So Angela, I want to thank you for tuning in, sweetheart. And your little guy, you can show Elliot how to get him, because I think he's starting school. I think he's that old now. So I love that you have these books out, Kalee. So if anybody would like to get your books, where could they get them?
So probably the easiest place is online through Amazon or any of the other like online retailers. Like in the US, Barnes and Noble, Target online, in Canada, Chapters Indigo online, and it's in some local stores here in my hometown city, Calgary. So there's some in the Indigo stores in this location, but I would say online is probably the easiest place to find it.
And can they get them from your website?
My website has links to the different spots you can purchase them. Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because I was on your website last night and I wasn't sure if it was that way or another way.
Yeah.
So I want to get into one last question before we wrap it up. So I asked you your favorite color, and your favorite color is pink. So why pink?
I should have been wearing it. I usually wear my
Well,
signature
I'm wearing
pink.
pink for you.
Thank you. Oh, I love it. It's just the whole feminine energy. I'm all about that. I like around my house. I'm very like boring and neutral, and I always have like blacks and whites. But then I always have some pink stuff too to give it like a pop of pink. Yeah, I think it's just it's feminine energy. It reminds me of, and boys can wear pink too. By all means, I'm all for the men in pink too. And but it's just vibrant, bright, and it gives me feminine energy vibes
I
and
love
like
it because
all the girl power and yeah, Barbie, the whole Barbie theme and everything.
so did you go see the Barbie movie?
I did, yeah. First weekend it came out with my daughter. It was so fun.
And did you like it?
I did. I felt like there was so many like positive messaging and the things they were saying. It was like, yeah, I love it. And it felt like, and that was right around when my book came out, Make Money Your Thing. And it like hit me in that moment that like I wrote a book for women, specifically for women, because I'm like all on, like I'm team women. Women empowerment. Let's do this. We can do this. And so in the theater, like that's when it hit me, the fact that I had written a book and it was about money for women. And it was like, oh, like, I'm just like, wow, such a, like a moment. It took going to that movie for me to like have that moment of appreciation for myself and my own achievement and accomplishment.
I love it because you do a lot of women empowerment, and your tea was empowering. So
Yeah.
the empowerment is there for you, Kalee, and you're serving
Oh,
a really
absolutely.
good, strong message for women out there and for the younger generation as well. Teaching them at a young age, 4 to 6, with your book. Children's books are really deeply important. I want all of the viewers and listeners, Christmas is coming. Instead of buying toys, buy a book. Read a book with your children, bedtime stories.
Oh,
Let's get the storytelling back in there. And that's a good time to have an open conversation, is when you're about to tuck your child into bed, giving them hope for the next day to get up. Because then they get up in the morning, they're like, oh, remember that story you told me, mommy? Like, I can, or daddy, like you read me this story. Can we have a conversation about it? So breakfast, you have that open conversation, right? And I
yeah.
have a bunch of nieces and nephews out there. So if you guys need children's books for your kids, check out these tea time guests that are on tea time, because there's a lot of children's books that are amazing. So Kalee, I really want to thank you for joining me and having a good strong cup of tea and bringing a
Thank you.
message out there to everybody. You know, let's be money wise, and let's bring it with a good twist. Let's twist that tea a little, and let's bring some empowerment. So again, I want to thank you, Kalee. So if anybody would like to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you?
Probably best place is my website. So it's just my first name, last name.com. So kaleeboisvert.com. And it has links to other places, and it has a contact form that you can fill in if you have questions or comments. Absolutely reach out. I love the messages and questions I get on there. It's just, I'm like, this is sparking interest and ideas for my next book. So I love it. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to give a special shout out to Mickey Mickelson from Creative Edge for giving me Kalee and all of the incredible guests that have come from Creative Edge. Check those tea times out as well. And check out Creative Edge. Check out what Mickey's doing and Amy and all that incredible team, because they are doing amazing work as well. So I want to thank everybody for that. I want to thank all the viewers and subscribers who have tuned into Tea Time. Without you, I will not be here doing what I'm doing. So we will see everybody next week, same time, same place. Maybe 3 countries, maybe 2, maybe 1. We just don't know. This week we went to 2 countries. We went to United States and Canada. Next week, I'm not sure where we're going. Stay tuned. Check out Miss Liz's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and you will see all the incredible guests there. So again, thank you, Kalee. And I will see everybody next Thursday, same time, same place. And we'll do this all over again with 3 new TEAs.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.